Matter of Jeffery Chao. This is calendar item 306 and again case number 24 CJCF 04761. Mr. Romero on behalf of Mr. Chao, Ms. Serna on behalf of the people. Good afternoon, Council. Good afternoon, Mr. Chao. On behalf of your client, Mr. Chao, at this time do you waive reading of the complaint statement of rights, including armed forces and veterans' rights, denying all special allegations, enhancements, and priors, and are pleaded not guilty?
Yes, that's all, Your Honor.
It's my understanding that the parties have conferred and are requesting a date of 8/15/2024 as a 045 preliminary hearing setting.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's correct, Your Honor, yes.
Okay, this matter, Mr. Chao, you do have a right to a speedy preliminary hearing within 10 court days and 60 calendar days of your arraignment or plea. You understand waiving the above these rights so that your matter may be continued to August 15, 2024, with the understanding that your preliminary hearing will proceed within 45 days of that date. Counsel joined?
So joined.
Okay, so the matter is set then again in Department 31 on August 15, 2024, as a preliminary hearing 0/45. There is a request for a stipulation to discovery of records and information protected by Family Code Section 17514. There is a proposed order for the court. It's my understanding that both parties have reviewed that proposed order and that there's no objection to the court signing that.
Yes, Your Honor, correct.
That order will be signed. There's also in this case a request for a criminal case presently worded by the defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The criminal protective order names as the protected persons Alison, last initial C, and Annie Chao, CHAO. And the locations are home, job, workplace, and vehicle. Mr. Chao, for good cause appearing to the court, I am issuing this criminal protective order and ordering that you not harass, strike, threaten, assault, borrow, stalk, molest, destroy, or damage personal or real property, disturb the peace, keep under surveillance, or block the movements of the protected persons listed in the criminal protective order. Or to have no contact with the protected persons in person, on the telephone, in writing, or by any electronic contact. You are to take no action to find the address or location of the protected persons or their families. You must not prevent or try to prevent or dissuade any witness or victim from making any listed in the criminal protective order. And you may not own, possess, buy, or try to buy, receive, or try to receive, or otherwise obtain a firearm or ammunition. You must surrender to local law enforcement or sell to a licensed gun dealer any firearm owned by you or subject to your immediate possession, custody, or control. Protected persons may report any prohibited communications made by you to them. Again, a copy of this order will be served on you here in open court.
Your Honor, may I have a moment with counsel?
Sure. The parties have advised the court that Mr. Chao had in his possession some firearms that might be subject to legal relinquishment pursuant to the criminal protective order. And the representation has been made that those have already been transferred legally outside of his possession, custody, and control. In order to comply with the local rules, the court has asked the parties to agree upon a date to show proof of relinquishment of those firearms, and the parties have agreed on August 9th, 2024. So I'm going to set that in Department 31 on that day for a firearms relinquishment. I think, unless either party has an objection, we could set that as a non-appearance for the defendant. If there's a problem, then you can ask for him to be brought, or we can bring him. I'll leave that to your discretion.
Yes, Your Honor, that's fine. However, once again, the high court is having available those days. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, do you have any objection to that initial date being a non-appearance? That being so, you will bring in proof of relinquishment, and then you need no further date until the preliminary hearing setting. If there's a problem on that date, then you can work out with the department 31 Ford went to bring him back, and so that will avoid an extra transport date. Is that agreeable?
Yes, so stipulated by the defense, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes, I trust that counsel will produce his time if necessary, if he's out on bail if there's any issue.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's correct.
so that should be soon enough to resolve that issue and to get documentation of it, which you think you're going to both want for the file.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Romero, I understand you want to be heard on bail.
With the court's permission, Your Honor.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. As discussed off record with the people, before the court we have Mr. Jeffery Chao, Your Honor. The two tenets that the court must consider, of course, as it knows, is whether or not Mr. Chao is a flight risk and or danger to the community. I will start out by saying that immediately upon graduation from high school, Mr. Chao volunteered in the Marines. Immediately after the 9/11, the tragedy here in this country, he did join the Marines and was shipped off to war thereafter in Iraq. Hence the history with firearms. Aside from that, Your Honor, currently upon arrest, on the date of arrest, he is actually a federal employee with the Department of Labor, is my understanding. Mr. Chao's lack of record or any violence on his record speaks louder than I can, or any attorney for that matter, as to whether or not he's a danger to the community. In focusing in on the charges before the court, despite my client being innocent until proven guilty, I understand very well that the court must accept the charges as true. As it pertains to count one, regarding his daughter Alison, Your Honor, as discussed also off record, the child is currently in custody with the DCFS. Aside from what's already been stipulated to with the people regarding the criminal protective order, she is currently afforded full protection by this DCFS. He has no access to her. It is all done pursuant to the DCFS. And so there is absolutely zero possibility, danger of him endangering his daughter. As to whether or not he's a flight risk, Your Honor, during the litigation in family law court, he has already provided his attorney of record his passport. He currently does not have a passport. He is anchored to the San Gabriel Valley community, Your Honor, has lived there his entire life. Before the court, mid-row, center stage, we have family and friends in his support. His sisters here. His mother was actually at the Alhambra court this morning, elderly woman in support of him. He has nowhere to go. He has no means to go. And based upon all of that collectively, Your Honor, we're respectfully requesting initially an OR release, but if the court is unwilling to deviate from, I understand this is a magistrate review at Your Honor's discretion, to an amount that's affordable to Mr. Chao to be able to bail out based upon his history, or more specifically, his lack of criminal history, his involvement in the community, and his family support, and his anchorage in the community, Your Honor. On that, I would submit.
Okay, Ms. Sherman?
And I think, first off, what we'll do is go through the series of events that led to Mr. Chao's ending up in custody. There was a court order that was made in June of this year, which ordered the minor child at issue, Alison, to a mental health facility. And Mr. Chao was opposed to that being done while the mother was supportive of it. And the couple is in the middle of a very contentious divorce, it would appear. And custody was given to Mr. Chao at the onset. On that day, the court disagreed with Mr. Chao and agreed with the minor's counsel that the child was best off in a mental health facility. And at that point, the court ordered that the child be surrendered to the facility and continued the matter for a further date. When the child was not surrendered to the facility, the mother went into the court and asked for an ex parte on July 15th of 2024 and obtained an ex parte ordering Mr. Chao once again to comply with the court's order to bring the child to a meeting location so that she could be surrendered to the mental health facility. At that time, the police showed up to Mr. Chao's residence where both he and Alison were present. And while it does appear that Mr. Chao encouraged his daughter to go, she refused to go with the police and refused to go with her mother to surrender to the facility. The very next day, another hearing was held in the family court where Mr. Chao was present. And at about 3 o'clock that afternoon, that court ordered that Mr. Chao surrender his child the next day at 9 a.m. to the facility where the child was to begin treatment. About 2.5 hours later, Alison went on what we now have in our discovery was a bike ride, and what was all over the media. Alison went on a bike ride, however, never arrived to the location that she was set to go to. So a few hours later, Mr. Chao reports Alison missing. Needless to say, Alison did not make it to the facility and was not surrendered as ordered by the court on the afternoon of July 16th. This missing child situation went on for about a week, 7 days. Alison was missing. All the while, her father, Mr. Chao, reported to the media that his daughter was missing. Her mother reported to the media that her daughter was missing, and this launched a couple of agencies involved in searching for this child, as well as the community that was very, very involved in putting posters up and looking for this missing child, Alison. All the while, Alison was hiding out at a location unknown to her, a location that was found by her father and a family friend, indicating that this is somewhere where she could hide out until things got better, or lay low until things got better. These were actually Alison's words to the police when she was interviewed. While we acknowledge that Mr. Chao is a veteran, Marine, went to war, there's no dispute. We acknowledge that. However, we also have to take into account the series of events that led us here and his irrational behavior. And we do have information, and again, that was provided to counsel, and it's in the report that Mr. Chao self-reports PTSD, and his daughter reported PTSD. And now we also came to know that he was in possession of several weapons. We're being told today he no longer has those, but at the time of the arrest and the reports, we were under the understanding that he did in fact legally possess several semi-automatic weapons. Now, with respect to his lack of record, we also acknowledge that, and we acknowledge that he is employed as counsel has represented to the people, and that he's turned over his passport as well as the minor child's passport. However, we disagree that Mr. Chao is not a flight risk. This child was placed, and counsel's indicating to the court that she's afforded full protection and that she has zero possibility of danger because she's now been placed through DCFS. However, what counsel did not represent, or perhaps counsel doesn't know, is that this child was actually placed with a family friend whom we were informed both parents have access to. People that both parents know where this location is. And we're also dealing with a teenager who can very well access her father. And given the history of this family, it appears that this child and her father have a very close bond, and she wants to remain with her father and will make every effort to reach her father. And given Mr. Chao's actions and the length of time that this seeking of this missing child went on, it would give us an indication that Mr. Chao would stop at nothing to make sure that his daughter gets what she wants. Given all of that, we acknowledge, again, the positive things that Mr. Chao brings to the table, but we also do have concerns with respect to flight risk. We did indicate to counsel that we're not seeking what the court initially has before it, which was the magistrate no bail. We're seeking a reasonable bail amount of $500,000.
Is that what the schedule would be?
No, Your Honor. Schedule would be, I think, 45. We're asking for a bail deviation.
You're asking for a bail increase?
Yes. And from our understanding, and again, that is also provided in discovery, there is a GoFundMe that was started immediately after this arrest, and it is now in the amount of $127,000. So there's certainly money out there available to Mr. Chao, should he choose to make choices other than to comply with any of these court's orders, which he's already shown he has difficulties doing. But despite all of that, we feel that it would be appropriate to set the bail in an amount of $500,000.
Your Honor, if I may address the GoFundMe. Initially, the request was for attorneys and dependency support. That was the purpose, that was the goal. I believe the language was actually changed in that GoFundMe account. once again, Your Honor, I think there's no hiding dispute here. My client's love his daughter and vice versa. He is willing to cooperate and abide by the court's rulings. I do understand the people's position, but a deviation going up from 45 to $500,000 makes it unattainable. It's just too much, Your Honor. And so we're requesting that with the statutory bail amount of 45, the court sees to fit to release the hold in the alternative, something lesser than the $500,000 request to an amount that he can actually afford. That was not directed by Mr. Chao, this GoFundMe. I certainly haven't seen him for that money, but once again, the intent was for dependency court. So I don't know who has control of that or what. It does exist, but we're asking for something that's fair and reasonable, Your Honor. Another alternative that, since we're discussing the issue of bail, if the people are concerned of the flight risk, I'm not sure if the court would entertain other options like electronic confinement, GPSing, but the key here, Your Honor, is based upon what I have become aware recently, what counsel has referred to the PTSD situation. I think it's in my client's best interest that he be out and begin to receive the treatment that would definitely help him. But he would definitely be compliant with the court's order, Your Honor.
Should the court set bail, we would request that if Mr. Chao bail.
Submitted?
Submit, Your Honor.
Submitted? Okay, the court has undertaken an individualized consideration of the factors relevant to the defendant's release or detention, including protecting the public and, in this case, the victim, which includes not only the daughter but the family, the seriousness of the charged offense, the defendant's lack of a criminal record. However, also is demonstrated noncompliance or willing to comply with court orders on a number of occasions. The likelihood that the defendant will appear at future court proceedings, and balancing those interests and the interest of preventing crime and against the interest of the defendant's right to pretrial liberty. There's a strong presumption in this case that the defendant committed the charged offenses. Of the information available to the court at this time, it appears that those were not spur of the moment or acts, but rather concerted, sophisticated, and prolonged actions where he either knew or should have known that there was a strong public use of resources to try to address those concerns. The fact that the daughter was believed to be either kidnapped, missing, or God only knows what, to the parents, I'm sure it caused a tremendous amount of distress to all of the family members who were not knowledgeable of the fact that she was in fact being held in a secret location. That creates a tremendous amount of concern for the court. The fact that Mr. Chao is a former Marine, thank you for your service, sir. That is something that I take quite seriously and am very appreciative of as a citizen of this great country. But it also suggests to me that Mr. Chao has unusual abilities that he probably obtained in the course of becoming a Marine, and that may have helped him in the planning and sophistication of a particular abduction that happened in this case. It's very concerning to the court. He obviously, judging from the people in the courtroom here, has a lot of support in the community, family and friends. That suggests to me that, putting aside the GoFundMe, he does have resources and that he could draw upon if he needed to disappear again. He certainly had help from many or others, maybe not in the courtroom, to effectuate this offense, allegedly, based upon the information before the court. I do understand that $500,000 is a tremendous amount of money, but the court believes by clear and convincing evidence that there are no less restrictive non-monetary conditions that would suffice to protect the public and ensure Mr. Chao's return to court. So I'm going to set bail at $500,000.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
And if Mr. Chao is able to bail out, Mr. Chao is going to be placed on GPS tracking, in order not to use or threaten to use force or violence on any person, not to possess any dangerous or deadly weapons, and to comply by the criminal protective order. Also want to advise Mr. Chao that he has a right and an obligation to be personally present in court. Sir, your trial, preliminary hearing, or other proceedings will proceed without you if you refuse to be personally present. The right to remain also will be present for your trial, preliminary hearing, or other proceedings. Mr. Romero, would you like me to set a bail review at the next preliminary hearing?
Your Honor, first of all, I do thank the court for granting bail at this point in time. We can calendar it for the, I'm not sure if it's going to be the 9th or 15th, but the plan is still to bail him out, Your Honor. We'll see what we can do there.
Okay, I'm not going to set it for the 9th because that is not apparent. So if you want a bail review, you don't have to. I can.
Sure. Let's set it with the court's permission for the 15th, but I'm hopeful he'll be out waiting for it.
Okay. If you need it, I'll set the bail review for 8/15/2024, and that will be again in Department 31. Is there anything else I can address at this time for the parties?
Thank you.
No, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel.
Thank you, ma'am.